I've got to manage myself, I've got to manage my mind. The task is not easy, but to high heights I climb.
I'm determined to succeed, so no excuses, please. If you don't want success in life, then don't hinder me. Yes, let the whole world know. A CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. You are a CEO. I'm a CEO. The time is here to celebrate. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. You are a CEO. Yes, let the whole world know. The time is here to celebrate. Success is calling, so don't be late. You are a CEO.
Hello, everyone. Michael Lee Parker here, and I want to welcome you to another exciting show here at CEO TV. And listen, I want to first just thank everybody who attended our event on the 26th. Everything is about to change. We introduced the A Club, and so many of you had over 500 registrations. Many people were there. Many are watching the replay. Look, we're so excited about the future. Everybody achieving more and everybody making the most of their life. Now, you all know COTV's been long running for many years. And for the first time, we're going to take a summer break. But we said May was going to be Mystery May. And all throughout the month of May, we've been having mystery guests, mystery content, mystery shows, and never telling you who was going to be here. And today, we have another outstanding show for you. And so I want you to sit back and really take note of some of the wonderful things you're going to learn and hear from a good friend of mine who I consider an expert and a wonderful, wonderful professional in everything that he does. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Robert Ferguson. So let me bring in Robert. Can you hear me? How you
Yes,
doing?
sir. I can hear you loud and clear.
All right, Robert, listen, first of all, it's just so good to see you. I'm just really glad. I mean, it's been a crazy year and a half or so, and I know sometimes we try to keep up offline, but how have you been doing, first and foremost?
Well, I'm good, and I did a 10-year event, which was outstanding.
Oh, thank you.
And encouraged quite a few people to attend it, but no, I've been great. Loving the fact that the pandemic is starting to lift. And I have 2 little kids, so they need to get out and enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, too, like just the whole, the kids and the school and not being able to go to school. I know that's been a lot to manage because you can imagine that kids are.
Oh, no, it's been absolutely crazy. The whole challenge of dealing with kids being at home, not being able to interact with their friends. It's been challenging, man. And I send my blessings to everyone. And I have personally experienced the challenges that come with it. So very happy that the world is kind of coming back.
Yeah. And I know you've been extremely busy, Robert. Hats off to you just as a father with your daughters, and then all that you're doing just to help, people live better lives with their health. And I just want to quickly remind everybody of our relationship for those that don't know. I mean, the first time I saw Robert, he was on TV and he was doing his thing. I mean, it was the top infomercial, and he was really beginning to break things down about food in a way that I hadn't heard. Then next thing you know, we're out at an event to help some young people, and I see him in this room. I said, that's the guy I saw on television. And next thing I know, we got a chance to connect, and ever since then, we started, at different times throughout our journeys connecting and trying to do good things together. And I know that a lot of people in my personal network, they really love the message of diet-free life and the things you were talking about, with fast carbs and slow carbs and people starting to think about how to eat better. And I know since the time that you and I connected, and even the things you introduced with diet-free life, I happen to know that you've been on a journey to even get better and better at what you do and go deeper and deeper into the science, the health, everything that could allow you to give the best possible solution to people. Can you talk about, since, you know, kind of introducing those things, for a lot of people in my network that don't know what happened after that, what has went on since then, and what have you grown to as a America's fat loss coach?
Well, the short, I mean, my weight loss journey, as far as helping other people, got started in 1995. And around 2001, 2002, I wrote my first weight loss book. And then 2005, I signed the deal to do an infomercial. 2009, we launched that infomercial, May 1st, and it became the #1 infomercial within 2 months. We generated about $120 million inside of 16 months. And the reason I bring that up is, you know, this isn't new, right? I've been doing this for a long time.
Right.
And I've learned a lot. You know, my undergrad is dietetics. I've been a trainer, former U.S. Marine, pro athlete. So I understand it from that perspective. I'm a mama's boy, and she's my first client. So she went on to lose 125 pounds after living a life full of dieting. All that being said, I wanted to do something more, right? So when I put a program out there on an infomercial, it's a canned approach, right? It's a cookie cutter. So you're putting something out there to reach the masses. And I believe everybody's going to be successful with it. But as I was traveling the country and meeting these people, I started to get feedback from people, and not everybody was being successful. And a lot of those people started to look alike, and they had similarities around age, et cetera. And so it made me, or put me in a position where I was like, let me dive deeper and look at why these people aren't being successful. And as a result of diving in around 2011 is when I really started going after it. I discovered this thing called the microbiome, which is all about our gut health. Then that led me to these studies that started to look at insulin resistance and insulin sensitivity, which I could explain that more. And some people have heard those words or terms.
Right.
And I discovered that people lose weight differently based on all these various markers, whether their body fat is high or low, depending on where they fall as it pertains to resistance or sensitivity. And sensitivity just means that everything is working well. And it really opened up my eyes. I had then completed a scientific, clinical-based, evidence-based study with Aetna that demonstrated that our methodology is legit and real. And then just last year during the pandemic, I did another study. I traveled back and forth to Pennsylvania, and we put it to the test again. Again, the outcome was amazing. And I came up with a whole bunch of really cool stuff in the last 3.5 years that totally changes how we lose weight. Wow. It's extremely innovative. I've had top physicians, researchers, scientists look at my work. They're totally impressed. And as I've shared with you, I can't wait to help people. And in the last 6 months, I've coached probably about 300 people, and we put it to the test, and the outcomes are amazing.
Wow. Wow.
Amazing.
Well, Robert, I really want to spend the bulk of this show unpacking microbiome, gut health. I mean, this is something that a lot of people are starting to talk about, and yet a lot of people don't know what they're talking about, if you know what I mean, because I know a lot of people who don't really understand what this is all about. They don't really know what it really means. Before we go into that, though, because I really want to spend the majority of time there, tell me a little bit about, because I know people that even really got into diet-free life, and some people just love it and still love it today. And then I know some who had a few challenges with, so I want to know, what were some of the things you saw in patterns with people who may have struggled with using the diet-free life system because of maybe different patterns that you saw where some people might not get the same result? Can you say a little bit about that?
Well, when you think of weight loss, most people think of weight loss as energy balance, right? Eat less, move more.
Okay.
That's in all of the medical books. That's just the foundation to how we look at weight loss. But as you know, 100 calories of jelly beans and 100 calories of broccoli works totally different in the body.
Right.
So we know that, yes, calories count, but it's not just about calories. It also has a lot to do with hormonal regulation or hormonal response.
Right.
So that being said, then you got to really meet people where they are based on all of those dynamics. So when we put it out there, our goal originally was to help people optimize their blood glucose or their blood sugar, knowing that if the blood sugar levels spike up really high, that's not good for a diabetic.
Right.
And when they spike up high, all the data tells us that what goes up fast and high is going to come down fast and high, which means you're going to be hungry earlier, which means it puts you in a position where you flatline. It's like going grocery shopping on an empty stomach, right?
Right.
You don't rationalize the same, everything is off.
Right.
And so our whole thing was like, everyone, let's eat every 2 to 3 hours. And we're going to actually have you eat the foods that you love. So we could meet people where they were.
Right.
Right. So a lot of times people look at that and they go, come on, man, you can't be telling people to eat pizza. You can't be telling them to go to McDonald's. You can't encourage Wendy's and all these fast foods. And that's not what I'm encouraging. But when I would go on television, that's what all the producers wanted me to talk about.
Right.
Because it's sensational. It's like, and so then a lot of my colleagues or clinicians would look at me on the Steve Harvey show and say, man, you're teaching people how to eat, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Right.
And the reality is these people are going to eat what they're going to eat in private. My goal is to show them how to eat it in a healthier way. And what I've learned, even since 1995, is that if I show you how to eat what you're going to eat in private, you're going to come around and not want to eat that. And I've noticed people become more plant-based and they want to eat closer to nature by meeting them where they are. Because if I come out and say, all right, I want you to leave eating your collard greens and your pork loin and all those foods that a lot of people would say to, shy away from, not the collard greens, but like, let's say the deep fried chicken and the
Right.
catfish.
Right.
Well, if I push them away, then I don't get a chance to help them transition. So we have seen the power of meeting people where they are. And that's like psychosocially, that's meeting them as it pertains to their cash. Is it cash convenient? Is it something that could be doable?
Right.
And so doing that was a big part of all of our work. And we still do that, but we've gotten much better at helping people transition to foods closer to nature.
Yeah.
Than getting them stuck in a rut that's going to put them in a position where they're more likely to not change their habits,
right,
and go back to what they wanted to get away from.
Yeah, and that makes so much sense, Robert, because I know that, just people, just human nature, you deal with that block of people always thinking about what they have to give up, and you teaching people to eat smarter and still meet some of their health goals until you can get them to fully eat healthy. It makes a lot of sense because you're trying to build a bridge for them to go somewhere, and you can't even get them to walk unless you meet them where they are to a certain point. So I get what you're saying. And when you think about, though, that it seems like there's this higher epiphany now about how the body works when we deal with the microbiome and the gut health, and like there's this deeper understanding that's kind of coming into the industry, and that I can tell you're passionate about. For those out there that don't know anything about a microbiome, they probably understand gut because people feel like they got one. But what is microbiome? Break this down in simplicity of what is this all about, and what is microbiome? Can you explain what that is, and then maybe let's unpack it a little bit.
Okay, so your microbiome is your intestinal tract, right? So your small colon, your large colon, and it all begins with when you begin eating food.
Okay.
Your microbiome is, when you have colon cancer, you're going to meet with a gastroenterologist, and they are experts in the microbiome. So the microbiome is where 70% of your immune system lives. So during the whole COVID, I was doing a lot of TV and talking about the immune system because everybody was thinking about the immune system. And that is your microbiome. When you think of things like serotonin, which is a feel-good hormone, most people think serotonin is produced primarily in the brain, but over 90% of serotonin is produced in the microbiome.
Wait, Robert, I don't want to cut you off, but you're dropping some bombs here right now. Wait a minute. Now, you just said that 70% of our immune system is in the gut, and 90% of serotonin is produced from the gut and not the brain. Now, I mean, I'm serious. I'm trying to stay focused on the show here, but this is really intriguing me personally. That's really some deep statistics.
Oh, it's deep. And when you look at even dopamine, 50% of dopamine is produced in the microbiome.
Wow.
So they now are looking at the microbiome as a second brain.
Wow.
Because a lot of your autoimmune diseases and challenges that people are faced with that are still fairly new are all tied into the microbiome. So you have a lot of people walking around with depression and challenges with mental health. And a lot of that could be improved as a result of getting your microbiome to be healthier. We now know that Alzheimer's is 100% tied into the health of your microbiome.
Wow.
And a lot of the foods that we're eating, or actually the foods we're not eating, are playing a huge role in what we call dysbiosis, which is the disruption of the microbiome, right? So if you're not getting an adequate amount of fruit and vegetables, dietary fiber, then you have a microbiome that's not diverse, which a healthy microbiome is very diverse because it's diverse when you're eating a variety of foods. But without those dietary fibers, you have set yourself up for a lot of negatives as it pertains to the microbiome, which can lead to colon cancer and a whole bunch of other negatives. But when you get the microbiome healthier, you literally burn calories more efficiently. You absorb food and everything is much healthier there. And Aristotle, and before Aristotle, Hippocrates was very clear that all disease begins in the gut. He was talking about the microbiome. So the microbiome is gold, and everyone must and will become knowledgeable of the microbiome.
Well, one thing I question about that then, Robert, when you think about it's so compelling what you're talking about with the microbiome, is that what I'm wondering is how does one person know the condition of their microbiome? Like, is there, like, as this gets more traction and people learn more about it and people start to learn the condition of it is so important, how does one find out if their microbiome is healthy, not healthy, doing good, not doing good? How do you get an assessment of that?
Well, all right, so you can go to a gastroenterologist and they can do a test and give you feedback on your microbiome as far as the health of it. But what I encourage my clients, and that costs you about $800 to $1,000. I ask my clients and encourage people to assume your microbiome is disrupted. Just assume it. And then live and eat and move based on getting it healthier. You don't need to go get a test. You just need to eat in a way that's going to help you optimize your microbiome.
Now, Robert, before you continue there, let me ask you a question about that, because how long does it take the microbiome to be impacted by your behavior? So, and that's even more true if the microbiome is quickly impacted by the behavioral decisions that I make, then regardless of how it is now, it's more important what I'm going to do now because of how quick. So tell me a little bit about how quickly can I impact the condition of my microbiome regardless of the past?
7 days.
Wow, okay.
7 days. 7 days, and then of course, if you nurture it, it gets better and better and better, and you start to see amazing changes, like let's say in a 3-month period, amazing changes. Energy is better, bloating is gone, you're not retaining as much water. Side challenges that you may have that are autoimmune based are like better. When I work with people, I'm always keeping track of certain markers, right? So I do waist. We look at body fat percentage. We look at the weight that the person has on the scale, and we look at fasting glucose, right? So if you're not even a client of mine without those markers.
Okay.
And what we quickly find out is that about 100 million people, adults in the United States alone, are pre-diabetic and have no idea. They have no idea. So again, if you just assume, even when I created Diet for Your Life back in the day, it was all based on having something that could be beneficial for diabetics because you saw the growing trend, and everything we thought in 95 and 2000 was going to happen with type 2 diabetes has happened and is actually worse.
Wow.
So when I take on a client, we follow the waist, it's very common to see a person drop 2 to 5 inches off their waist in the first 30 days.
So is microbiome, and this is kind of, and I want to get into what do we need to do to have a healthy microbiome, and let's talk about that a little bit. But when you think about microbiome and if it is healthy and some of the benefits from it, do you see this as, and I know you might say all of the above, but give me a little bit of texture to, is this something that is more reducing body fat, waistline body fat? Is it something that will help you drop weight? Is it more of a health thing where regardless of weight, your overall body is more healthy, your immune system and everything else? How does microbiome, how does it impact those different things? And what are some of the main benefits that you're trying to get people to from microbiome?
As you improve the microbiome, we're talking overall health. So it's all about overall health.
Okay.
And it touches on everything. And I believe that in the next 5, 10, 15 years max, every treatment, every time you go to a hospital, they're going to be looking at microbiome without 100%. They're actually doing fecal transplants right now with the microbiome. Basically, they can go into the microbiome, take a sample of someone's microbiome,
right,
like fecal matter, implant it in someone else. So let's say you have someone who's lean and genetically they don't gain weight.
Right.
They can extract from that person, implant it in a person who's overweight, and then that person starts losing weight.
You're kidding.
Oh yeah. And everything that I'm saying, those who are, Google, and you will see exactly what I'm saying. It's the truth. It's there, it's growing, it's rampant. It's a major movement.
Okay, but let me ask you something about that. When you say someone who has a healthy microbiome and someone who doesn't, and even someone they're doing testing now with someone who was healthy microbiome, putting someone who wasn't, and it had an impact, that makes me think more like genetics or something that's in that person versus something I can impact in 7 days. So help me see this better. So the difference of something maybe that someone has something healthy, or like someone can have something run in their family like blood pressure, cholesterol, or I think I always get it wrong, H1ABC or H1BC.
You know, hemoglobin A1C.
Yeah, that. And you know how they normally are measuring over 3 months how sugar is in your bloodstream and so forth. So there's like a 3-month snapshot to kind of see how someone is doing, and we kind of look at that as an indicator. With microbiome, is it something like that you feel we're looking at a window of time to determine how healthy someone's microbiome is, or is it something that someone has that, like you said, can be put in someone else?
No, the microbiome is so confusing right now. Like the only thing that we know across the board that every gastroenterologist around the world will agree with is that a diverse microbiome is a healthy microbiome.
Okay.
And the only way you can have a diverse microbiome is to consume a variety of food.
All right.
Right. So to give you an example, and there's no science to back this up, but I watched it very closely. A lot of bodybuilders who ended up getting COVID-19 had a very difficult time. Many of them died because their immune system was compromised. And we believe a lot of it had to do with the microbiome, because a lot of these bodybuilders eat the same thing all the time.
Right.
Right. And you'll see them meal prepping, right? So if I got my tilapia, chicken breast,
yeah.
I got my brown rice or yam, and then I got broccoli or asparagus.
Right.
And people see that, they go, oh, that's what I need to do. Well, that means no diversity in your microbiome. And a lack of diversity in the microbiome is a susceptible microbiome to various concerns. Whereas if I'm eating a variety of fruits and vegetables and just changing it up, I'm going to have a more diverse microbiome. And when you have a more diverse microbiome, you reap the benefits of a healthy microbiome.
Interesting. So you're saying,
lot of that, I'll go ahead.
No, so you're saying that for the microbiome, like we talk about certain foods that are better for cholesterol, certain foods that are better for diabetics to keep their sugar under control, or things that are not good for blood pressure, or salt or certain things. with microbiome, it almost sounds like you can't box it in like that. It's almost like we want diversity. Like the
Yes.
diversity of things is what create a better gut. Now, does this have something to do with the acid and stuff in the stomach? Is this more in the intestines? Is it the diversity of these different things? What do you know about why they say diversity of foods creates a healthy microbiome?
Well, a lot of it helps to understand what we mean by like a prebiotic, a probiotic, and what they call a postbiotic.
Okay.
Right. So most people have heard of probiotics, right? It's live bacteria in your gut.
Right.
And that's very important. You want to have healthy bacteria. And that's why when you go and have antibiotics, it wipes out like a third of the healthy bacteria. And for years, doctors and other experts like myself would encourage you to go and consume fermented foods like yogurt to replenish the lost healthy bacteria. That's been the ongoing thing.
Right.
Well, about 3 years ago, they did a major study with the advancement of the microbiome. And the worst thing you could do after you have antibiotics is to take a probiotic. It will delay restoration of the healthy gut. Now, you don't hear about that because Dannon and all these companies that sell yogurt, they thrive off the fact that they're selling gut health with you taking their live bacteria, but that's not the truth. So the truth, and it'll slowly come out, but a lot of it won't because you have lobbyists in place and they delay that type of education getting to the people. And so you just have all these people that just continue to regurgitate what has been told and shared forever, right? So we know we have live bacteria and that's important. So the prebiotic is foods that you consume. So the dietary fiber in fruits and vegetables is a prebiotic. Okay. So if I'm not getting that, I'm going to run into some problems. It's like you're not going to have a gastroenterologist endorse the keto diet. Not going to happen. There's a lot of doctors that endorse it, but ask them if they're a specialist in the intestinal tract. And they're going to say no, because the people who look at the intestinal tract know that if you don't eat fruits and vegetables, you're setting yourself up for a whole bunch of problems. Right. Like a lot of problems. So prebiotics basically is dietary fiber. Once that dietary fiber gets into your colon and makes it down to the large intestine, it kind of plants itself in there. And then you have the live bacteria interacting, and then they create a postbiotic, which is things like butyrate, things that are going to help you prevent colon cancer, help you prevent Alzheimer's, help your gut be healthy. And so to take out fruits and vegetables, it just blows my mind the damage that it's doing. These other proteins, I'm concerned with what people aren't getting, because we know a lot about the microbiome and we know that it's very important that it's diverse, and you lose that diversity by not getting fruits and vegetables. Right. You know,
so then the fruits and vegetables, healthy fiber, is there other things that, when you say diversity, is there other things beyond the fiber and the things that we find in fruit that also create a healthy microbiome? Because there's all this other stuff we talk about, right? Like proteins and the good fat and, you know, certain types of carbs. How does that play with microbiome?
Well, when you think about like foods that we eat, right? Right. When you think of even a hunter-gatherer, they're eating a lot of plants, okay? Fruits and vegetables. So is eating salmon gonna hurt me? No. Is eating a steak gonna like mess things up? No. It's more of what you're not getting. So the variety is the fruits and vegetables, right? All over the world, you know, plants, anything like, and unfortunate, a lot of people don't realize that when we say carbs, we're talking about broccoli and asparagus and collards and greens. Most people think carbs, that's pasta and white bread and rice. Right. So you want to, and a lot of people don't eat fruits and vegetables. They just don't eat many of them. And so the goal is to get them to consume more of it. And that helps with cholesterol. It helps with satiety. You're more full. Everything gets better when you're eating fruits and vegetables, which some people would refer to as like plant-based. Right. And I don't say plant-based. Let's just eat. And we have a method. So we just show you how to get those foods in and the outcomes are amazing. But some of our biggest challenges is getting, like, you know how I mentioned earlier, fasting glucose, right?
Right.
There's a lot of people who will watch this and think, okay, yeah, he's talking diabetes. All right, that's important. Yes, it's important. However, that's where part of the breakdown is. What the microbiome has done is going to change the entire game. It's open our eyes to reality that glucose is not the main driver for insulin, which is the hormone that's responsible largely for how we gain weight and how we are able to lose weight.
Okay.
So insulin is where the focus needs to be, not so much on glucose. It's like glucose is the symptom.
Right.
And we want to treat the cause, right? So if you step on a nail and get an infection, you may get a fever as a result. If we only treat the fever, then that infection is going to get worse.
Right, right.
So just keep in mind that the infection, that's insulin. Insulin is what's going to cause us to store. So the glycemic index, which a lot of people talk about, is totally messed up. It's totally wrong. It's been proven over and over and over. And I could give you data after data after data to help people understand why it's not accurate. And here's one example. When you consume glucose, right? We know there is a relationship to insulin. But when they injected people with glucose, like with IV, they didn't see a big insulin response. But when they took the same amount of glucose and they had that person consume it orally, where it goes into the microbiome, then we saw a big insulin response. Same amount. Interesting. Well, then when you look at an apple and you look at apple juice, the same amount of carbs,
right?
The apple barely causes the insulin response, but the apple juice causes a huge insulin response.
Right.
It's because the more processed a food is, the more is not as whole. It doesn't have the structural integrity of what it is. When that's disrupted, then we see a bigger insulin response.
I see.
Right. And so if we look at the insulin response, then that would tell me, oh, don't drink the juice, eat the apple.
Right.
And then it gets crazy, right? Because the biggest insulin response, and this is going to get a lot of people's attention. Like for instance, the setup is, and I did a test on Facebook. I said, what causes the biggest insulin response? A hamburger patty or fruit? And everybody said fruit. Wrong.
Why?
Because in their mind, they're thinking fruit's high in sugar.
Right,
No.
right.
No. The hamburger patty is protein and fat. That combination causes the biggest insulin response.
Wow.
Actually, sorry. The only one that's higher is when it's a high amount of carbs and a high amount of fat together. That causes crazy.
Right.
And in nature, and I went on Facebook again with this one, I said, what food naturally is high in carbs and fat? A natural food. There is none. See, if you look at an avocado, it's high in fat, low in carbs. You look at a potato, it's high in carbs, low in fat.
Right.
The only foods that are high in fat and carbs are processed foods that we create.
Wow, that's something.
Pizza.
Yeah.
Pizza.
Right.
Cake.
Right.
Bagel with cream cheese. Milkshake. From an evolution standpoint, our bodies are not designed for that. So when we eat those foods, these incretins, which are the hormones that get secreted in the microbiome,
right,
go to the insulin and says, something's crazy.
Yeah.
And then insulin just goes crazy. And insulin, it's like a biofeedback. When you secrete a lot of insulin, insulin does its job, but then you need more insulin. Then it's like this circle you can't get out of, and you become insulin resistant. And then it gets worse. And then the people now you got to inject insulin because you need more insulin to make it work, to get the glucose out of your blood. And now it gets worse and worse and worse. And how do you get out of it?
Wow.
You're trapped.
Right.
And when you're insulin resistant, that's not a good thing.
Right.
That's a really, really bad thing. And fortunately, our programs, or my program, what we've created is helping people reverse that.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
Robert, this is explosive. I mean, this is like, this goes against everything we've heard ever about some of the common things. And we know that insulin is such a powerful point you're making about insulin, because I mean, insulin is really the bigger root cause to what is happening, especially with how the cells in our body receive things from the glucose and the energy we need and all of that. If the insulin's not right, it's like the doorkeeper of what's really going to happen in our body. So I love what you're saying about that. And I know everyone is just loving this right now, and this is just, so thought-provoking. And I want everyone to know that, Robert he's a part of the A Club, and I consider him a leader and an expert amongst us. And I'm gonna be, talking with him more about just bringing more knowledge and information and expertise like this into the A Club to benefit all of you. We're talking about some things and how we can work together, because what Robert is doing is so, I'd like to know, Robert, that I know we're running out of time, so I wanna know, give me just a little overview of all the fad diets. You mentioned keto earlier, all the fad diets and stuff that are out there, and maybe what some of the limitations are, and then the difference in what you're doing and what you're trying to do with this new approach and this new perspective. Give me a little overview of that for everyone.
Well, there's as I mentioned a couple times, the keto diet, I'm not beating anybody up on it, but I have worked with quite a few people who have done scientific keto. I had a lady recently who did scientific keto for a year and a half with her husband at the Purdue University, and was not losing weight. She created such disruption with her microbiome that it took us about 4 months to get things healthy enough for her to start to lose weight. That's one. And I have hundreds of them, literally, people who have not eaten fruit or vegetables for years. And some of those people started to see their fasting glucose start to rise, even though they weren't eating any type of carbohydrate. The older a person is, the more mature you are, don't do keto. If you're 25, or you're really fit already, okay. The outside looks good. We don't know what's going on the inside, but you're gonna do way better than the average woman or man who's 46 years old, has gained some weight over the years, and they're like, I'm gonna do keto. They are creating so much disruption in their microbiome, it sets them up for a lot of problems. And to get back to normal, it is work. So keto is one of those ones that's everybody's running after, and I get it. It's not, everybody's looking for a solution,
right?
And they see someone who's lost weight, or they go, I can do that, and then they dive in because they want to get this weight off. They want to get healthier. I totally get it.
Right.
But that's not something I would recommend at all to anybody, for the fact of what you're not getting, not so much what you're consuming. And I feel the same with paleo and some of these other diets. They are diets. And when you have a diet, you have to follow it. But what we've done is we have something that follows you. And if it follows you, that it can only do that if it meets you where you are. And the simplicity of it is just to combine your food. I did a presentation the other day for the American Diabetes Association, and they were just because I have the data, right? So I pulled up our last 2 studies. I pulled up everything that was substantiated. So I have the science, everything that I've shared here, I can make available to anyone. The abstracts, everything is available. I don't recommend or do anything unless it's clinically approved. And I'm in a position where Katie Couric would say, good job, Robert. I don't want to be that guy like Susan Powder years ago, stop the insanity, and had everybody eating carbs and people were gaining all kind of weight. And you saw this increase with heart disease with the people who followed her diet. So I'm not that guy.
Right.
So we've done a lot of work to be in a position where I can share with confidence this kind of information. And your average gastroenterologist, they would go, okay, no, he's all right, we totally get it. Because I've spent the last 3.5 years with some really top level gastroenterologists where I've seen the work. They love my work, because when you look at doctors, there's a disconnect with doctors, right? Because they're battling with their own weight.
Yeah.
You know, like I just recently had a gentleman who I promised, I said, in 9 months, I can get you off metformin and I can reverse your type 2 diabetes. So for people who get, his hemoglobin A1C was 11.1.
Wow.
His triglycerides were 1100.
Whoa.
He weighed in at 278 pounds. And this really got me back into coaching. So guy was tearing up in front of me, had his wife in front of me. He's the athletic director, good guy. His name's Chris. And I said, the first 3 months, we're going to get it down. And then we're going to get her to cut your metformin in half, his endocrinologist. That happened. We went from 11.1 to 6.0. I said, now for the next 3 months, as you know, as you measure the hemoglobin A1C over a 3-month period, we got him down 5.6 just a week ago.
Wow.
He's now off metformin. His endocrinologist calls me. She didn't call me to help her other patients. She called me to help her.
Wow.
So even the gastroenterologists, most of them become my client because they get it in the lab, right? But they don't get it in the kitchen.
I see.
There's a disconnect.
Right.
I asked 10 gastroenterologists. I said, hey, how familiar are you with incretins? GIP. That's in the beginning of the small intestine. So they know the microbiome, but they're totally missing that. And it's those incretins that give the response and signal the pancreas to secrete all that insulin. But they're not even looking at that.
Wow.
So it was me knowing what the problems are that looked at all of that science and went, processed food is not our friend.
Right.
Now, Can you eat processed food? Yes. Like if you ate a pizza tomorrow, Michael, your microbiome is not going to be disrupted because your norm is not that.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Sure. Right.
The average person's norm is that. And an example would be, they say, well, I eat healthy, Robert. I'm doing everything right. I go, well, when you went to work on Monday, didn't you have a slice of cake because somebody had a birthday party?
Right.
And cake is high in carbs and high in fat. They go, oh, yeah, but I don't really eat cake that often. I said, okay. But then on Tuesday, remember that muffin you ate when you had coffee?
Right.
High in fat, high in carbs.
Right.
And then they say, yeah, but that was just a snack. I said, yeah, but then on Wednesday, remember you got home late and your wife didn't cook and she thought you were going to handle it and you guys ordered a pizza for the kids?
Right.
High in fat, high in carbs.
Right.
And then on Thursday, I got a bagel with cream cheese. I don't eat it that often. High in fat, high in carbs.
Wow.
And then on Friday, you got the kids and had a milkshake, high in fat. So when you do that, it's causing insulin levels to be secreted at big numbers and sustained for long periods of time.
Wow.
When you eat pizza, your insulin levels are elevated and glucose for up to like 6 hours. So that means for 6 hours, anything that you eat after you ate that pizza is being stored.
Wow.
Because insulin is present and insulin blocks the fat cells from releasing.
So literally during that time, your body is saying everything you eat from now on, store it to fat.
Yep.
Wow.
And that's scientific. And then you have, like, when I was looking at my clients in the last few months, I noticed an overwhelming amount of people when they say, oh yeah, I had turkey. Oh yeah, I had chicken. Well, me 10 years ago, I didn't dive in and go, like, what do you mean when you say turkey? Like, what kind of chicken, right?
Yeah.
I feel like Chris Rock when I go, what kind of chicken?
Yeah. Yeah.
And most of the time, these people are eating ground chicken, ground turkey. And when they look at the label, it says 7% fat.
Right.
Well, when you do what they don't know is that what's on the label is based on the weight of the food. It's not based on the portion or what you eat. So they can say 7%, and that's a total lie. Because when we do the numbers, it's going to be somewhere between 42 and say 60% fat.
Wow.
Because it's processed.
Wow.
And so my diabetic clients are going, no, all I had was like just a little bit of ground turkey last night. So I didn't eat any carbs. I don't know why my fasting glucose is high. They don't know.
Wow.
It's like the hamburger patty. That's going to cause your fasting glucose to be elevated.
Yeah.
Even though insulin is present, and insulin is like, again, more insulin, more insulin, more insulin.
Wow. Robert, this is just outstanding. I really want to thank you for everything that you've shared, and I want to give you the last word. Um, you know, what you're talking about is so important, Robert, and something that I just really appreciate, just as a person. I just appreciate truth. You know, if you have the truth, you can decide what you want to do with it, you know, but
Right.
to have the truth, there's so much marketing, there's so much deception, there's so many agendas, there's so much politics about things that there shouldn't be, like our food and the truth about what we put in our body. Like, don't play around with my body. You know what I mean? Like, that's a problem I have with just the industry as a whole, of what people are willing to do to make money. And I appreciate that you're really trying to speak truth and really give the understanding and doing the research, right? Because the understanding is changing. Like, you have to put work in. And that's what I like about you, is that there's no one just knows it all, just like it just fell in their
Right.
head. You got to put work in. And I appreciate somebody has to read those reports and read the research and read the testimonials and read the studies. And I appreciate you putting that type of work in. And I look forward to just, everything that we'll do together. And I really wish you well in everything that you're doing, because I think it's so important. I want to give you the last word, though, for everyone who's watching this. We got a lot of people who want to achieve more. We got people watching the show that are diabetics, people that are fighting heart disease, people that are fighting all sorts of health conditions, and some that are doing well, but they want to do better and be motivated to continue. Any word that you want to say, as well as letting people know how to keep up with you and some of the work that you're doing?
Well, thank you. I am a club member of the A Club, and I am a contributor, and I am here to contribute and help. And as you and I have talked, I have ideas that I want to put in front of you and your team on how we can get even more people to learn about the A Club, and maybe put together some funnels and some opportunities for people to come and learn and help them realize that, hey, you can't get, like, what's in the A Club is not just out there.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of truths, and I'm excited to be a part of the team for that. The thing that I would leave everyone with is have hope. Like, my goal this year was to get 20 people off metformin. As of right now, May 28th, as we record this, 2021, I have 7 people off metformin in this calendar year, like completely off.
Wow.
That's a big deal. I have 2 people that used to be type 2 diabetics, and their endocrinologists have confirmed that they are no longer type 2 diabetic.
Wow.
And there will be more this year, and there was more last year. So I would say, have hope, you guys. There is a way to reverse it. There is a way to get off blood pressure medication. I did this big thing yesterday with these 2 physicians, and we were all loving it. And then I brought on a couple of my patients. I had one patient who had been taking blood pressure medication for 30 years, and he was tired of it. His wife was a client and then introduced me to him. We got along great, and he is no longer on high blood pressure medication. He's been off of it for like 5 or 6 months and is thriving. He's down like 60 pounds. And at one point he didn't have hope. So again, hope is a very important. And I just think that a lot of people are walking around and they've lost it. Yeah. And they just settled into the fact that, I just got to keep taking this medication. And then when they increase the medication, they got to keep taking that medication.
Right.
And that's not the case. And the saddest part is how a lot of these doctors aren't always excited to encourage them that they can get off the medication.
Right.
They don't. It's, I just had a lady yesterday. She called me and says, Robert, I'm getting off this medication. I believe it was blood pressure medication for her. And she says she told her doctor, and the doctor says, yeah, it looks like you've lost some weight. She goes, yeah, and I'm getting off this medication. And then the doctor said, basically got in an argument with her. Mm. And people can get off. So hope is the thing. And then I would just say, if they want to contact me or learn more, they can reach me through our website, dietfreelife.com. Okay. Or if they're a club member, then I guess they can contact me in there, right?
Right.
Yes, I am a club member.
Absolutely. Right. Absolutely. Well, Robert, thank you so much. This has been such a powerful show, and we're gonna get as many in the club and community to watch this and learn and glean from it. I want to thank you so much for all that you're doing, Robert, and for taking the time to be a part of this. I think everything you shared was so eye-opening, but I feel like when people's eyes are open, they have an opportunity to walk different, and so I appreciate that. And so thank you again, Robert. It's such a pleasure, and I'll be talking with you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Well, listen, I want everybody to know that I hope you got as much out of this show as I did. I just want to, again, thank Robert for everything that he shared. And all of you know, listen, we're living in a world today where literally billions of dollars is made on getting us sick, and then billions of dollars are made on giving us the medication to help us after we're sick. And those of you that are serious about getting out of that cycle, I hope that you take shows like you heard tonight and think serious about being the CEO of your health, the CEO of your life. That's what the A Club is all about that we just introduced. We really want to see people live better lives and be higher achievers by creating an environment. Tonight, we created an environment tonight, an environment of knowledge, of wisdom, of understanding, so that then if we know better, we can do better. And I want everyone to know out there that this is a community that actually cares about people's lives changing. And I hope that you'll see that you have to care. You have to care enough about you to take that action and to know you're not alone, because we're in this together. So everyone out there, please take to heart what you heard tonight, and let's all seek to live and be better. Now, having said that, I want you all to know we are going to a summer break, and we've never done this before for years. We've had so many shows, we don't do replays. We've been original, just doing all this content, and we're gonna take 2 months off, and we are just launching the A Club. We're getting into all the new releases that many of you just heard about. And I want all of you to know we are going to come back stronger than ever with a very intense programming that's going to be surrounded by so many different things. And I want y'all to know, if y'all like what y'all heard tonight from Robert, there's something going on behind the scenes that we're talking about, some potential new challenges and new information that could really help a lot of you to know exactly what to do and take some action. So please stay close to what we're going to be doing in the A Club. And again, we're going to be looking at not only things from me and from the team here locally, but experts and partners like you heard tonight that can add so much value to the A Club so that we can all grow and we can all learn more. So during this time, stay connected. We'll still be doing things randomly. You will know things that URCO is doing, but our normal format, we're going to pause that and we will be back. And when we come back, we're going to have so much to say, and we'll move forward together, achieving more each day. Now, this show is a little longer than normal because it's the last one before the summer, so I'm sure you all realize that this was worth every minute. And so thank you all so much. I'm Michael Lee Parker. Until we see each other again, keep on achieving, and as we say, get out there and let the whole world know that you are a CEO.